Hey boys and girls, it's Miss Berthold from Crowder's Creek. Today I want to show you how to do a Zentangle hand drawing. Alright, for this project you need a piece of paper, a pencil, and a black pen. It can be a ballpoint pen, it can be a marker pen, it can be a Sharpie pen, but anything that has a black color to it. Now you're going to place your hand down on the paper. You want to fill up most of your paper with your hand. Okay, it's more fun. The more hand you have on there, if you just use it at the very end, you'll have less space to color in. Okay, now we're using a pencil for this part so you don't end up with marks on your hand, and if you make a little mistake, if your pencil slips, you can erase pencil, you can erase pen. So, placing my arm down, just carefully trace around your hand. It doesn't have to be perfect or exact. You don't have to worry about getting every little detail. You just want to create kind of the outside shape of your arm and hand. Now you're going to take your pen and you're going to trace over that line, and then you are going to take your hand and you're going to divide it up into sections. Let me show you how that's done. As you can see, I traced over the outside of my hand. It's not perfect, but it shows me hand, and that's what I really want. And then I added 7 lines crossing my paper. I decided 7 was a good amount based on how big my spaces were and what I kind of did to create the division of my paper. You might need a little more, you might need a little less. But your goal is to not have too many spaces that are super big, and you don't want any spaces that are too super small. This is probably a little small, but I can make it work. When you're drawing your lines, make sure they start and stop on an end of the paper. You don't want a line to just stop in the middle of your paper. If you add too much at this part of the project, it's going to make the rest of the project a lot harder. Okay. Now, what you're going to do from here is you're going to take each of these sections that you've created with your lines. Okay. This section here goes around the fingers. Wherever you hit a line, that's where your space stops, and you're going to create a pattern in each of these spaces. Okay. So this little space right here, this little space right here, all of these are going to be different designs. Now, because you have some bigger spots and some smaller spots, you want to think about what kind of pattern you want to put in each of these spots. Okay, one of the smaller ones, I would go with something more simple. For the bigger spaces, maybe you could go something a little more complicated. Now remember, a pattern is something that's repeated, either a shape or a line, or a color, but in this project we are not using different colors, we are all using just a black pen. As you can see, I am not finished, but I have this kind of top row done. Now what I want you to also think about is when you're working, you notice I have a lot of the same size lines, right? Because I'm using the same size pen. One thing you can do is use a bigger pen or a smaller pen. So if you have like maybe a black marker or a black Sharpie, you can work on some thicker or bigger lines. And you can also work on coloring some parts in. So you notice I have just lines, 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 but this part I colored in, okay? When you're looking at this, your eye tends to go to that little part because it's the darkest. So what I want to do is I want to balance that. I don't want just this part to be the only thing that you look at, because your eye will go there and it'll ignore the rest of my hard work. And so one thing you can do is think about spreading out these darker pieces. So I might work on a pattern down here that I take a pattern of shapes, but instead of just leaving the shape open, I'll draw a few of them so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. You can see that this is also taking your eye. Instead of it just being up here, it starts to bring it down here, and as you fill it in, you can fill it all in with just this pen and not color anything in, and then look around and pick out some things that you think would look good colored in. I could color in these circles. I can maybe color in some of these loops, some of these little squares and rectangles that I have up here. Different patterns and different designs are able to be colored in so that you bring your eye and it's well balanced throughout your picture. I hope you had fun making your artwork. I can't wait to see what you created. Bye!